Thank you for joining us here at the First Alert Desk on Atlanta News First Plus. As you can see, we're about to take you to a live news conference with DeKalb County officials and the district attorney herself, as you are about to hear a major update in a decades-long double homicide investigation. Right now, I do believe that organizers of this press conference are speaking with the media. Let's listen in for those remarks.
Okay, everybody set? Awesome. Let me go get everyone.
All right, so as you can see, news conference is starting soon. I just want to give you some background before we take you live to District Attorney Sherry Boston's remarks. This is out of DeKalb County, where there has been a major breakthrough in this investigation due to genetic genealogy. That is going to be the topic of this news conference. And you're about to hear from DeKalb County investigators as well as the district attorney talk about what helped investigators crack this case, as well as potential arrests and announcements of suspects. So we don't have a whole lot of detail about what this news conference is going to entail. What we have been told is a result of federal funding and a federal grant allowed for genetic genealogy testing within DeKalb County that led investigators to develop an update and follow this case more closely, which you're about to hear from, again, District Attorney Sherry Boston, as well as DeKalb County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Unit, the DeKalb County Police Department, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Several investigators involved in this decades-long sexual assault case. And again, they will be talking about forensic genetic genealogy. This is a continuation of a couple of news conferences we've heard this year from DeKalb County District Attorney Sherry Boston. And I do believe those remarks are about to get underway, so let's take you to that now.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. I am Sherry Boston, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as the District Attorney for DeKalb County. Today, I am joined by members of my office's cold case team, as well as several other partner agencies, as we are proud to announce the arrest and indictment of a suspect in a rape and double murder from more than 3 decades ago. Thanks to a federal grant secured by my office late last year, DNA evidence has now linked this defendant to the murder of 46-year-old John Sumter and the rape and murder of Sumter's sister, 43-year-old Pamela Sumter. On June 6th, the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office Fugitive Unit executed a warrant for the arrest of 55-year-old Kenneth Perry of Loganville. Perry was arrested without incident in Gwinnett County and remains in the DeKalb County Jail without bond. Yesterday, a DeKalb County grand jury, indicted Perry on charges of malice murder, felony murder, rape, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, and possession of a knife during the commission of a felony, as well as theft by taking. The case against Mr. Perry remains active and open, but I want to provide you with a brief overview of the facts. On July 15, 1990, officers with the DeKalb County Police Department responded to a report of a person stabbed at an apartment complex on Tree Hills Parkway in Stone Mountain. When they arrived, they found Pamela Sumter, who had gone to a neighbor's home for help. Ms. Sumter was clearly injured and told police that she had been raped and stabbed, and that her brother, John, had also been stabbed. Officers found John deceased in their apartment. Ms. Sumter was transported to the hospital, where medical professionals collected a rape kit that included DNA from her attacker. Police were able to interview Ms. Sumter in the hospital. She told investigators that her brother had brought a man over to the apartment. She knew very little about this new acquaintance, but she was able to give police a detailed description, including that he was from Detroit, Michigan. Ms. Sumter later succumbed to her injuries about 2 weeks later, and from there, the case went cold. As part of its continuing initiative to test pre-1999 rape kit evidence, the GBI sent the DNA samples from Ms. Sumter's case to a private lab for analysis. A male DNA profile was identified, and the profile was uploaded to Georgia's statewide DNA database in June of 2023 with no match. Last spring, my office performed an audit of 50 cold cases in DeKalb County as we prepared to apply for a grant from the Department of Justice called Prosecuting Cold Cases Using DNA. We identified about 24 cases, including this one, that we felt were good candidates for a new investigative technique called forensic genetic genealogy, or FGG. FGG is a process where DNA analysis is combined with genealogy. It allows investigators to take a DNA profile from a case and run it through law enforcement accessible family tree databases to search for relatives in order to identify who that DNA belongs to and whether the person is an unidentified victim or perpetrator. The Bureau of Justice Assistance awarded our office the grant in October of 2023, and we immediately got to work. In February of this year, we worked with the GBI to upload the DNA profile from this case to the national DNA database, and within days, got a match to a sexual assault case in Detroit, Michigan. That same month, we sent a DNA sample to our private lab partner, Othram, which began working to identify the suspect through FGG. Information from both the Detroit case and the new FGG analysis led our team to Kenneth Perry. More than 30 years after the alleged crime, Mr. Perry is now awaiting his day in court. We are here today because of incredible advancements in science and investigative technology that have made what once seemed to be an unsolvable case a solid case. None of this would have been possible without the determination of our team, funding from the Department of Justice, and our partnership with Othram. Members of the Othram team were not able to be here today, but they are watching via live stream, and we want to thank them for their collaboration on this and what we hope will be many more cases in the future. While the science has brought us here today, it's remarkable, but we cannot lose sight of the terrible loss that the Sumters family members have suffered. For more than 30 years, they have waited and wondered if this day would ever come. But they never gave up hope that they would see justice. At this time, I would like to invite Pamela and John's brother, Mr. James Sumter, to say a few words.
I want to say hello to everyone and good morning. My name is James Sumter, and I just want to say a few things. That we're living in the last days, in the time of the Bible prophecy. This world is wicked and evil, and the love of many, not all, have waxed cold. In one way or another, we are all victims in this society. It's been over 30 years since this terrible, evil tragedy happened to my brother and sister. We now have closure. My family and I want to thank District Attorney Shannon Holder, Detective McLendon, Amanda, and Clara for their earnest and tiresome work on this case. I pray that the justice system prevail on behalf of my brother and sister. We can face the future with hope. Challenging times are coming. Whatever suffering we must go through, whatever hardship we must endure, whatever sorrows, if we have hope, a better day is coming. We live life today with purpose, joy, and peace. God's grace and mercy is sufficient, and it endures forever. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I would like to take a moment to thank our partners in this critical work. First, I want to recognize the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office and their fugitive unit, who, along with our office, brought Mr. Perry safely into custody. I would also like to thank the GBI, who processed the sexual assault kit evidence, and the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, which continues to fund the important work through the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative. I'd also want to acknowledge the DeKalb County Police Department and retired Detective Alan Bright, who led the initial investigation in this case and is here with us today. I would like to again thank Othram for their diligent work on this case. And finally, a huge thank you to my cold case team. Senior Assistant District Attorney Shannon Hodder, Supervising District Attorney Investigator Matthew McClendon, and District Attorney Investigator James Delk, who have worked tirelessly to move this investigation forward and make this arrest and indictment possible, as well as Senior Assistant District Attorney Agatha Romanowski, who will be on the trial team for the prosecution of this case. Thank you all again. It is often said that the wheels of justice grind slowly, but this case is proof that the people in this room, the people in this office, will never stop pursuing justice for the people of DeKalb, no matter how long it takes. And I urge you, if you have any information about Kenneth Perry, his alleged crimes, or another cold case, please call our cold case tip line at 404-371-2444. Again, that number is 404-371-2444. Thank you. I will now open the floor for a few questions.
Can you talk a little bit about when you were discussing the database and how you link it to relatives? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so this is obviously a lot of really new information that we're using, which is the idea of combining what everyone knows, DNA, and searching those databases. But DNA is only good if someone has an actual sample right in that database. And so by using new technologies like genealogy databases that are accessible to law enforcement, and I want to be clear, we don't have the ability to just go out to any genealogy database. They have to be law enforcement accessible. And we've asked people to start considering putting their information in these databases because it helps us find justice like we did here, where we're most likely able to find perhaps a fourth or a fifth cousin, a distant relative, but it gives us the leads that we need combined with all the other evidence to track down a suspect and seek justice, just like we've done in this case here.
So are you saying that it was Perry's relative who had DNA basically in the database, basically in the system, and that's how you were able to link this crime to Perry? Is that how you say it?
In this particular case, the genealogy, well, first we were able to link it to a sexual case in Detroit, a sexual assault case in Detroit. From there, using other evidence that we already had, we were able to also use Othram and others to narrow it down to the person that we thought, right? And then, of course, after he was arrested, we got a search warrant to swab and confirm that he was, in fact, a match to the DNA that had been previously collected 30 years ago in that sexual assault kit.
One clarification and a question following. For clarification purposes, with the it says unprosecuted sexual assault for the Detroit case from 1992, have you been able to make contact with that office? Is there any type of statute of limitations, and is that something that now could also be tacked on in their jurisdiction?
I can't speak to what Detroit's going to do with that case. What I can say is that my team has been in contact, and Detroit was very helpful with my team in identifying and Mr. Perry.
And then as far as my question, can you talk a little bit about your investigators when it comes to cold cases, the long-term relationships that they develop with families, and how they balance something like that pursuit of justice, but also not over-delivering when it's something that's so hard because these families have to live with this forever?
Well, generally speaking, when we're talking about cold cases, these are families, because no one has ever been arrested, that our office is not been in contact with. So we are pretty mindful that once we reach out to a family, we are doing so because we believe that we are going to be able to move the case forward. The last thing that we want to do is reach out to any family and give them hope. And so we wait until we have put together enough to let families know where we are, or if we need their further assistance. But it is a fine line because we don't want to open the door only to slam it shut again with our families that have been waiting for, in this case, 3 decades.
How was Perry able to evade for this long? Did he go to another state? Was he always in Georgia? Or how did you guys know if he tried to get away after he did this?
Well, obviously this is an open case, and we still have to prosecute it, so I don't want to get into the specific facts. I can just say that during the time, Mr. Perry's DNA was not in a database that would have linked him to this crime. So when the DNA was collected 30 years ago and then again retested as a part of our sexual assault case initiative, we could not identify him because he was not in the database at that time.
Does Perry have a criminal history?
I can't speak to that right now.
As far as the federal funding that made this possible, I see that you've got the grant that continues over the next 3 years, starting from when it was first given to your office. Can you talk about how the success in this case and hopefully others, if that will lend you to being able to successfully get more federal funding in the future to work on more cases?
That is absolutely the hope and desire. Anytime you get grant money, it's usually for a 2 to 3 year period. There's a lot of reporting that has to be done. We have to account for every dollar we've spent, and obviously the success rate of what we've been able to identify using that money. So this is what I hope to be just the beginning of our cold case work here in DeKalb. As I started out by saying, we had 600 unsolved cold case homicides in DeKalb County. So as long as people are willing to give us the funds we need to do this work, we're prepared to keep on doing it.
How often are you guys able to solve crimes like this? Would you say, like, before the money, maybe you were only able to solve 10, and then now it's double that?
Before the money, none. That's just the reality of it. Without, because most of our money is going to a lot of the scientific analysis that we're utilizing with private labs. So the money alone is helping us to engage in scientific work that otherwise is not in our normal traditional budget, and certainly not the work that the GBI can do on its own, considering all the current active science testing that they have to do for active local cases. So money is essential and critical, and we hoped that in the future we can get more money so we could add more people to our team. All the people you see from my office that are working on these cases are not doing it full time. They have other responsibilities, other work in the office. And so in the future, with the number of outstanding cases that we hope that we could really dig into, if we had the time, the equipment, and the manpower and woman power, there's probably no end to what we would be able to do.
Out of the 600 unsolved ones, I believe it said that you submitted 50 into the national database. How did you go about, in this case being one of them, how did you go about selecting what cases would be optimal for you to put into that?
So the new grant that we did receive recently allowed us to hire senior investigator James Delk, who's right here, and he works in a part-time capacity, and his job is to help sift through that evidence. And we're kind of looking at each case, seeing what we have. The reality of it is just because there's a DNA sample doesn't mean it is the quality of a sample that is going to allow us to get information. We're also looking at the rest of the case. So we have to start with what we think are our strongest cases with the most amount of sort of investigative tips and go from there, which is one of the reasons why we have our tip line. We want people to reach out on not just this case, but any cold case, because the more tips we get, the more information we have, then we can link that to the new science and the new technologies that may allow us to solve a case that otherwise has gone cold.
Do you know how many cases have been solved since you guys have had the money and resources because of this one?
So this will be our third case. Obviously, we had the case of William Deshaun Hamilton, and we had the case of Becky Burke, who we were able to identify her, but we did not bring any prosecution charges in that case. And then this would be the third case that we've been able to work on with this money, but the second case that we would actually be prosecuting in court.
We're going to end it there. Thank you.
All right, so you just heard from DeKalb County District Attorney Sherry Boston. A lot of information in that news conference right there. And you heard from some family members speak on what this means for them 3 decades later. I just want to recap, if you may have joined this halfway through, this is a decades-old cold case from July 15th, 1990 that involved a sexual assault and a double homicide. And now the victims have been identified as Pamela and John Sumter, brother and sister. And now we know the suspect in this cold case, Kenneth Perry, has been identified. The DeKalb County District Attorney saying that that was a result of genealogy and DNA testing that provided a match that allowed DeKalb County investigators that were originally looking into this in the 90s revisit this case and find what they believe now to be the suspect. Kenneth Perry now waiting for his day in court. I just want to walk you through exactly what happened those 3 decades ago. Apparently, according to the district attorney, Pamela and John Sumter, the victims in this, both died. John Sumter was killed tragically on July 15th. Pamela was raped, according to the district attorney, and then died from her injuries 2 weeks later, both stabbed. Now, the district attorney said that last spring they conducted an audit of cold cases, and what that led to was a closer analysis of this investigation, in particular a DNA profile that was found on Pamela was apparently a match for another sexual assault case out of Detroit, Michigan. The district attorney saying that is what led investigators to find Kenneth Perry, that they now name as the suspect in this 1990 decades-long double homicide investigation. So, of course, we are going to keep you updated on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. As you can see here, I'll scroll up for you. The full story can be found in the latest information of what we are gathering. Excuse me, I'm having some technical difficulties there. The full story, the full investigation, and the latest to come out of this news conference is going to be on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, and make sure you check that out. Of course, we're going to continue to follow all of the developments, including any updates involving the suspect named in this investigation on Atlanta News First and Atlanta News First Plus. Make it a great day.